I am almost impressed. You have stumbled upon the source of some most unusual weapons. I wonder if you will be able to uncover the real secret that lies within my foundry.
In this video I'll show you how to go through and complete Tier 2 challenge mode of the Foundry. To start off with, it's fairly simple. You'll have some white hand berserkers and white hand archers to deal with. Fairly simple, just use an assist window, have a DPS target assist, and everybody just follows that. Once this first group's down, you'll be able to move down the corridor a little bit further, and here you'll see a white hand snitch coming up in front of us. Now this guy is a bit of a pain. If he gets aggroed, he will run off and then fetch a big troll. So best to mez him like we're doing here and then try and burn him down quick. If he runs off before he dies, just let him go. Don't chase after him, because you'll do what we've done here, which is aggro a whole load of stuff, and then you'll end up with a troll to contend with as well as everything else. If that happens like it did for us in this video, just get the tank to grab the aggro of the trolls. You might get one or two depending on how many snitches ran off. Turn the trolls away from the group, get them killed as quick as you can, and mop up the ads as you go. Fairly standard stuff really. Once you've cleaned up here, killed the trolls, if you ended up with those, etc., you'll be able to move further down the corridors and you'll get to the final group stood at the end here. Again, nice and easy, just go down, get rid of the archer first, just to get rid of the ranged attacks on your heals and stuff. Clear up the rest of them, and then you'll be able to pull the lever there to open up the door to go through towards the boss room. Really nothing very special to talk about this first part of the fight, just make your way down, be careful of those snitches in the middle like I said, and you shouldn't really have any problems at all. So flick the lever, and flick the lever in here as well, that'll open up this doorway here to the first boss. Okay, so boss number one. Best thing is for the group to stick to the walkways and avoid going onto the fiery orange smelting pits if at all possible. Now there's 9 of these pits, and the boss will always start off in the one right in the middle. Just start off by attacking him as much as possible. After a while he will get a shield buff, and you'll spot that with a whole load of shields spinning around him. You can see that there. When that happens, you basically need to get the tank to move the boss over one of the grates and then get some hunks of metal to drop down on him, and then that will remove the shield. Now there's basically 2 techniques you can use to do that. You can either kill the 3 smelters that were over by the levers and then take full control of the levers yourself, have somebody assigned in the group to pull the levers, or alternatively you can leave the smelters to pull the levers for you, but then basically as and when and where the junk drops is going to be completely random. What we did for this fight was killed him in the middle square for a bit, moved him over to the right where we'd killed the smelter, pulled the lever ourselves, dropped the junk on him, and then took him to this corner by the entrance, and then just basically left the smelter on the other side of the room to pull the switches randomly until we got lucky, like there. And then just basically keep him in one spot, in the corner, by the entrance, and just patiently wait for him to die. Only other things to note are, if possible, avoid those big jets of steam, and every now and then the boss will turn and fire some kind of fireball at you, and then you'll end up with a patch of fire that you need to move out of the way of. But once you're in there and you've done it a couple of times, you'll kind of get the hang of it. I'm making it sound more complicated than it is really, to be honest. So once he's down, raid the chest, and then move on to the next area. In this second area, the trash mobs are slightly different. These guys that you can see here are the bog standard ones. You can just see coming in at the back there, a white hand flame arrow. Those guys you want to focus your attention to first of all and get them killed as a priority. You'll also find some great big white hand gash olog trolls. These are really just a job for the tank to grab aggro of, turn the troll away from the group, and then everybody just burns it down as quick as possible. So just be careful as you work your way through, and you should be alright. Again, with a bog standard group like this, just go through, everybody follows the same DPS target on the assist window. That just helps work your way through the mobs faster than if everyone's targeting things separately. Again, really not a problem to make your way through this area as long as you have a decent tank keeping the trolls from aggroing on anyone that's squishy. If you see any flame arrows, get those down first. I think there's about 3 or 4 different groups of trash that you'll need to clear up as you make your way through this second area. Once you've done that, you'll be ready for boss number 2. Now, the thing to note about this room is basically the walls are instant death, as is the forge thing kind of in the middle of the room, so basically don't go near it. What you want to do is have the tank run to face the troll, so he's on the opposite side on this video. Everybody else is on the back of the troll. The tank needs to try and hold the troll right near the tip of that triangular step just in front of the forge. We've just got the troll there now. That's basically because that's the centre of the room, and basically the troll will punt people, and if he does that, it saves you hitting the walls and you can just run straight back into him like I've done there. And 2 words for this fight really: tank and spank. It's that simple. It's just a patience fight. If the tank gets knocked back like that, have him bring the troll back to the middle as soon as possible, because if that tank gets punted a second time, he stands a much greater chance of ending up hitting the wall if he's close to it like he is at the moment. So there we go, tank's brought it back to the tip of that triangle, and then we just carry on and wait till he's dead. That's really all there is to this fight. It's really quite simple. Obviously, if you do get punted, press your run forwards key on your keyboard as soon as possible, and that will shorten the distance that you fly through the air, and then you'll also be ready to straight away run straight back to the troll in the middle of the run. And then again, once he's down, raid the chests, and then you're ready to move through the next area. These are the last few corridors that you'll need to work through before you encounter the final boss fight. You get another addition to the trash that you have to clear up. This time you're going to find white hand fire callers. Those guys are lethal. Basically, as soon as you see one, everybody focuses DPS on them and get them down as quick as possible, because what they do is they basically put an eye on you, and if that happens, your character will start to drop patches of fire for about, I think it's 15 or 20 seconds. So obviously concentrate DPS on the fire callers first. If there's flame arrows, take them down second, and then take down whatever remains at the end. So that's a new thing to look out for on this last section. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as before. Just make your way through the corridors, take care going around corners so that you don't like run around and then instantly aggro a whole load of stuff. And again, just take it easy. You really shouldn't have a problem up until you get to the huge piston room that we're about to approach here. Now the way you want to tackle this is go into the piston room and turn to the right. You'll see a mob stood by a lever. Kill that mob, and then after it's all gone, flick the lever. That will stop a few of the pistons in the ceiling and clear a path for you to move through into the middle. Take your care running through, and then position yourself nicely to get rid of this second mob who are protecting a second lever. You can probably guess what you're going to have to do then. Yep, pull the lever, that stops a few more pistons. Run through to the next area, grab this next mob, pick them off. Once they're dead, pull that lever, and then you'll basically be ready to turn and face the last mob in this piston room. Make your way over to them, kill these guys, and then all you'll have left is the boss fight. Okay, so you've made it all the way to the end. This is the final boss fight. To complete challenge mode, the ring forge must go down first. Now, our tactic for this particular fight is to concentrate all DPS on the forge in the middle when possible. If the forge isn't attackable, then we focused our DPS on Penrith. Our aim was basically to keep their morale as even as possible throughout the fight. This makes it a lot easier at the end, because basically once the forge is dead, the other two guys go completely berserk. So obviously it's kind of handy to have one almost dead. So we were focusing everything on the ring forge when possible. If we couldn't attack the ring forge, we'd attack Penrith. We had the main tank basically take Gash and just keep him busy. We weren't really attacking him at all. Now, after the forge has taken a certain amount of damage, you'll see some fire start sweeping around the room. When that happens, everybody must basically move round clockwise to the other side of the room. Otherwise you're going to be toast. And you can see I've also got an eye over me at the moment. Penrith will put that on players throughout the fight, and when you have that eye you will drop patches of fire everywhere. So if you get that eye, run around the edges of the room or behind the group, so that if the fire starts up and everybody has to run round, they are clear to run around without having to avoid those patches of fire that you've dropped. So that can be a bit frustrating really, because ideally as a hunter I need to be concentrating my DPS on the targets here, and I spent the majority of this fight basically running around with that pain in the butt eye. The game will tell you when the ring forge is vulnerable to attack, so whenever that message pops up on the screen, swap DPS away from Penrith and put it back onto the ring forge. Just as a note, for this particular fight we had, as I said earlier on, main tank keeping Gash occupied. We had our off tank on Penrith. and then everybody was just basically following a target assist to make sure that we were switching between the Forge and Penrith when needed. Now I know for a fact you don't have to take down Penrith second like we are planning on doing in this fight. You can take down Gash second after the Forge, but I guess we just took down Penrith because he's the guy that puts the dot on everyone, so it makes sense to get him down second. So really that's how this fight goes. The fire always starts up in that far right hand side corner as you're looking into the room from the entrance, so just have that called out. As soon as it starts up, everybody moves around as a group. The tank and off tank need to make sure they get Penrith and Gash over that side as well. Players with the eye, they should call that out as well, just so that we know to avoid them. And as I said earlier, they run around and try and drop those patches of fire out of the way of the group. Once the fire has made one circle around the room, it will stop, and then everybody should get themselves back over to the left hand side of the room, and then you just continue like that, switching between Penrith if the Forge isn't attackable, and when the Forge is vulnerable like it is now, everybody switches back to attack that Forge. And then you want to get Penrith and the Forge down to about 25 or 20,000 K. You'll also want to try and keep the bosses, Gash and Penrith, away from each other, and if you can, away from the Ring Forge in the middle, because they will buff each other if they're close together, and they're also stronger when they're near the Ring Forge. Sometimes Penrith and Gash will just basically walk towards the Forge and there's nothing you can do about it, but if you can, keep them away from it. Okay, so we're getting fairly close to the end here of this particular fight. Something to note as well, when the Ring Forge and Penrith are down to about 30,000, everybody must stop putting bleeds or damage over time effects on them, because you just want to be sure that the Ring Forge goes down first. So keep an eye on that. As you can see here, we're just about to make one final sweep around back to the original fight position, which is on the left hand side of the room as you come in through the entrance. Me again with the eye, who would have guessed. But you can see here the Ring Forge health wise is quite low, so we should be able to get it done on this pass. Yeah, you can see the health is dropping nicely. Once you get that central Ring Forge down to 20k, everybody switches to Penrith and then brings him down to about 20 as well, if he's not already. So we're just going to basically make sure both the Ring Forge and Penrith are at 20k each, or as close as possible, because this will make Penrith nice and easy to kill once that Ring Forge is down. So he's almost there. Oh, and just a perfect example, if you're not the tank, don't stand in front of Gash because you'll get swiped like I did just then. So I'm moving myself out of the way. Penrith is now pretty much at the ideal amount of morale, so once the Forge and Penrith are both on 20k, everybody switches their DPS to the central Ring Forge, and then you just basically burn it down till it's dead. So we'll get that finished up here. Once that central Ring Forge is down, everybody then switches back to Penrith to finish him off. and he won't take very long at all, because of course you've got him down to just 20k, so you don't have to put up with him going crazy, which he would do if he had loads of health left. Then once Penrith is down, you'll just be left with Gash, and then everybody just switches over to Gash, and then basically it's a really easy patience fight. He will basically walk off to the centre of the forge and basically become unattackable. It's helpful if the group has got some stun invulnerability put on them for when he comes attackable again, but other than that, you know, just take your time and he will eventually go down. And then that's it. That's how to do Tier 2 challenge mode, the Foundry. There's probably other techniques or tips that I may not have mentioned during this video. Feel free to post those up in the comments below for other people to have a look at. As I said, I know you don't have to take down Penrith first after the forge, but that's just how we did it in this fight, and it seemed to work pretty well for us. So thanks very much for watching. Hope maybe you guys have learnt something if you've not tried this before. So thank you very much. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care and see you around soon.